Finally tonight, though, some amazing scenery and fascinating characters emerge in Great Australian Train Journeys.
Ladies and gentlemen, the daylight XPT service from Melbourne to Sydney will be departing from platform number 1 at 8:30 a.m.
I love trains. I grew up in Tuckahoe, New York, by the suburban rails that led to and from the greatest city in the world. The locals and expresses were my companions, my educators, my friends. They held the promise of discovery and escape. I love trains. And the houses built to honor what they promised. Grand Central Station in New York, Victoria Station in London, Munich's Hofbrauhaus. And here, in Melbourne, the magnificent edifice that is Flinders Street Station. Could there be a more sumptuous and welcoming piece of architecture in all of Oz? It speaks to the vision and the optimism of Australia's great-grandparents.
Unfortunately, this is not the XPT departure point. As writer Phil Clement discovers, Australia's great-grandparents' vision has been supplanted by the practical economic sensibilities of their offspring. Welcome to Spencer Street Station, departure point for the XPT. Our journey on the express passenger train between Melbourne in the south and Sydney on the east coast is a bit like walking down the main street of a small Australian town. Every day, the XPT gracefully transports up to 300 passengers and crew 600 miles through the southeastern states of Victoria and New South Wales. The rolling hills, now only dotted with eucalyptus forests, were once sparsely populated by Australia's indigenous people. On our journey, we can reflect on how the history of this ancient land is told and how the massive changes of the last 200 years have affected the people who call it home. We'll meet some passengers, listen to their stories. There's Peter Kelly, who is on his way to Kapooka Army Barracks. Anthony Dennis is an author of train books. He's going home to Sydney. And Zedra Knox, who is visiting her son in Sydney. Charlie Chan is a composer. She too is returning to Sydney. David Jackson's ticket takes him to Glenrowan, the legendary home of bushranger Ned Kelly. Long-time residents, new immigrants and travellers from other shores.
Phil, Charlie Chan.
As they mingle in the next hour, perhaps we'll glimpse at what it means to be an Australian.
Let's catch it. Let's go, Joe.
It's not a joke. Okay, good. Well, that's... Ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Once the passengers have stepped off the platform, they break their ties with the outside world and become part of the train. Perhaps that's why every train seems to absorb the collective personality of her passengers. Each journey is different because each journey creates a new dynamic, a new set of possibilities, and a new set of histories.
The Adventures of Charlie Chan?
Yeah.
My first record was called The Adventures of Charlie Chan.
Really? And so you have a record, so you're a singer?
Musician.
Musician?
Composer, yeah.
Oh, really? What do you play?
Stuff.
Lots of all kinds of musical
Keyboards,
things.
stuff.
Stuff. All kind of.
The XPT was introduced in November 1993. Before that, the trains which plied this line had names like the Spirit of Progress and the Southern Aurora. Colourful names which conjure up images of adventure and romance. But the XPT sounds more like a designer drug or a catalogue code than a prestige train.
Scenery's good. Yeah. I just saw mounds of dirt. Many mounds of dirt through fog.
I think the fog's excellent.
It's getting worse. The fog's getting worse.
Breakfast service please from the buffet car inside. Anyone
Whoa.
So much for your coffee.
I want now.
There'll be no coffee, I'm very sorry.
There will be.
No,
Or I'll kill someone.
They'll have coffee there, but
I'll scream.
they won't have like slimy egg sandwiches.
I don't want those.
But they
I had that for breakfast.
had it.
Yes, I remember that too, yes.
Trains attract characters. They're characters who you can sit down and have a conversation with.
Anthony's phone says
Oh,
it's like,
is that
it's on the seat now, it's on.
There's a relaxing quality to train travel which promotes good riding.
But you're in the newspaper.
I work for the Sydney Morning Herald,
Oh, I see.
which is the main newspaper in Sydney and
You don't deliver.
generally regarded as the best paper in the country.
People probably don't realise how much they talk on trains. It's just there's something about trains which promotes conversation. Because they're confined on this wonderful moving object, they can't get off. You can trap people, and they don't mind being trapped. People will talk for hours on a train.
Well, that is nice.
I'm going to Wangaratta today, which is 2 stops further up the line. That's where I live. So I've got a business in Glenrowan, which is one little stop before that, which we don't stop at anymore. Nothing much happens there except for good food and a lot of good fun.
Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me.
There's that song again. I first heard it as a child, wafting out of the radio in my father's car. It was a song so sweet that even though I barely understood the words, I knew it was something special. It was about love, fidelity, freedom, desire, reconciliation. It was sung by a voice so different, yet so familiar, that I imagined I had learned my language all wrong. I constructed a meticulous vision of this sad rogue and his eternal love, Matilda. He had been a thief, sheep, I think. I had never met a Matilda. She would have been something quite special. Waltzing with her to the sounds of Guy Lombardo would no doubt be an evening of sheer grace, tiptoeing on luscious moonbeams. I couldn't wait to grow up, to gaze into the eyes of my Matilda.
You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda.
Yesterday, I found out that Matilda isn't a her, she's an it, a swag, a bum's bedroll on a stick, a sleeping bag, and a rolled-up Star Wars beach towel. Waltzing with Matilda is less a romance with the true love of your life and more about the joys of surviving the night in the bush. Oh, those Aussies. True romantics who can find joy on the road, on their own. They know romance when they take it by the hand for a dance under the Southern Cross.
Every time I see these hills, I always remember my father saying to me, bush rangers used to hide out on those hills. Because we used to travel constantly between Sydney and Melbourne when I was a child.
So did you ever
I find it very spooky travelling through all this, bush ranger country. Yeah. And just imagining what it was like for them to be hiding out in those hills around here.
Hello, Ben Round. That's the home of Ned Kelly. And everyone in town's got a beer.
Australia has always held a special place in its heart for the lives and deeds of bushrangers, and Ned Kelly is by far her most...